questionable scenes that are going on.
If this is going to work, then there is going to have to be an element of risk. It's my face that's the problem. Wasted in a bar at 4 a.m. and
The jaw's going.
with the whole party side of things, I just love people. Going for a breakup and then the voice happening is two enormous things to happen, and it's had a domino effect on my whole life. To be a singer in a music town is a dream. I was doing a James Corden show 2 years ago, and now I'm in someone's garden. It just screams amateur, which, oh God, this is such a crazy story.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Johnny Cassell show. Today I've got a very special guest. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a very talented musician. He is hot property at the moment. It's Mr. Billy Lockett.
Wee. Hot property, I like that.
Hot property, you are, man. Everything's happening right now. I mean, it's been great to get you here because of everything that's happened in the part. I've known about it for some time.
Yeah.
But the whole voice thing.
Yeah, the voice is it's weird, isn't it? I've been going a long time, but I guess every time something big happens, it's almost a kind of a stone falls into the water and then there's a ripple for a bit. You always think that there's going to be that one big break, but I guess there's just loads of little ones. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of run their course.
Well, lots of little big ones.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Before,
James Corden one was a big deal as well.
It was, yeah.
States.
Yeah, and there's been some big tours and things. I guess it's sort of, I just see it as just a giant never-ending staircase, really. And every time something happens, it pushes me up the stairs a little bit and I get a bit closer, loads of small wins. I guess the aim is that you just keep having things happening. So the ripple just keeps going on. And then when you sort of like look behind, you're like, oh my God, I've come so far. You know, if I look back a year, it's amazing how much it's turned around recently. Because it feels like you have this big spike and then it kind of does that. And you just hope that it doesn't do that for too long until the next big spike, you know?
Yeah.
And every time something happens, you get a few more fans and you get the streams get slightly bigger. And
it seems so. I mean, even the stuff with all the dating shows.
Yeah.
You know, which is like just sort of like a fan base grown from them because they're, you know, you have this melancholic soundtrack in the back and these sort of like these questionable scenes that are going on.
Oh man, I've been in some crazy scenes. Well, not me personally, but Love Island, I think they've played about 13, 14 songs now of mine over the last 3 or 4 years, which has been great. And I was literally on Made in Chelsea for an episode.
I was too, yeah.
That was really
yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
The weirdest day of my life.
I'll be on tour of Andrea Bocelli next year. I'm just taking notes and go, I'll take that. Yeah.
Well, I think that the aim of the whole thing is just to be able to tour and sell tickets and be able to make albums forever. And so you've kind of got to do all of these weird things sometimes, like reality TV shows and talent competitions and you know, I'm got to the point now where I didn't really care what I did. I just needed to get the songs out, and I was desperately trying to get on telly. And we were sort of pushing I Could Use a Friend to Graham Norton and Jonathan Ross, Sunday Brunch, Jules Holland, anything.
Jules Holland would be good, yeah.
Would have been great, you know. Yeah. But it just wasn't happening. You know, it felt like every door was locked and there was no way of me pushing past TikTok and Instagram for promotion, really. That was the only thing I had. The occasional radio play, Radio 1 and 2 were kind of supporting me, but that sort of fizzled out a bit. And then The Voice, you know, I got a message on Instagram while I was on holiday. And I thought, you know, my label's about to drop me. I've been trying to get this song on telly. Maybe, you know, and your first instinct for any sort of artist at my level, in that sort of mid-tier level of kind of, you know, between 10,000 followers and 50,000 followers, you know, between 200,000 monthly listeners and 600,000 monthly listeners. There's kind of this mid-drift of no man's land where there's tons of artists desperately trying to get out to the next spot.
Ceiling. Yeah.
And I just thought, well, maybe the reason that everyone keeps saying no to something like this might be the reason I should say yes. Maybe there's something in this. Obviously, there's the risk you do a talent competition like this and it's rigged, or they don't let you do your own thing, or you turn into something you don't want to be, or you're signed into contracts for the rest of your life that kill you. So I had to look into all of that. But I think a lot of artists had kind of assumed all of that, so they'd never really bothered to actually see where it could go and be on the show.
Right.
So, and every time I had a question, they kind of answered it in the way I wanted it to be. I had to be unsigned, and and my label was about to drop me, so it's perfect timing. It was my own song. They were going to let me play piano, which is kind of unusual. There weren't really any contracts unless you won, and I didn't really care about that side of things. It was more, I need to get my song on the telly, and this is a way.
Yeah.
And the voice is perfect as well, because it gives you a kind of, they tell everyone your background. You get 10 minutes on Saturday night. Like, I know that
the viewers can buy in more to your story.
Yeah, they learn about you.
And of course, essentially, your mother's there.
Yeah, my mum's
they're seeing the emotional experience that she's going through. And
if anything, it's way better marketing than Jules Holland or Graham Norton or anything combined, really, because they're going to your house and they're filming you, and the whole point is that,
getting a bit closer
that people are discovering you. Yeah, it's and then there was the risk of, well, what if no one turns? Then you're embarrassed, and you're even more embarrassed because you've had a career.
Yeah,
and you go from being, someone that was like kind of a culty cool thing to everyone knows you failed.
Yeah,
yeah, you has been. And you hear those horror stories, don't you? So then it comes down to just believing in your ability and thinking that, if this is going to work, then there is going to have to be an element of risk, because otherwise it won't excite people, including yourself. And that's the whole thing with this music thing. It's how do you market yourself? How do you make yourself? Obviously, the music's got to be great, and I always put that first. But it's also about how do you make people feel excited about you and feel like they're in this with you. They're a part of the journey. And if you win, they win. That kind of almost a sports mentality.
Yeah. Well, what would you say? I mean, because, I've obviously been close enough to follow your career for several years now. And what do you feel through continuous performing and refining has changed in terms of how you approach performance now?
Well, for one thing, I've sorted out my nerves. Like I don't feel any nerves whatsoever when I'm doing anything to do with playing now, because I've just been doing it for so long.
It's just a repetition thing.
Yeah, 12, if you do anything for 12, 13 years, like all day, every day, you naturally it's like brushing your teeth. So that helps. So when you can get into that zone, it makes it a lot easier to do your best in any situation. Don't get me wrong, a little bit of nerves is good. And when I did The Voice, it was the first time in forever that I can remember that I was actually really nervous. Just before I walked on stage, the whole process I was fine. I could feel everyone, all the other contestants were freaking out. Everyone was really, really nervous. But for me, it was another day in the office, whereas for a lot of the people there, it was like they're one day out of the office. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a day off their actual jobs.
Yeah.
So I was fine, and then just before I walked on, I suddenly just thought, God, I hope this is the one. I've had a lot of moments where this could have been the one, but I really hope this is a big one, and that just kind of went right into my body, almost physically. Felt like this liquid going all the way up, and I seized up. And I think they kind of cater it to make you nervous as well, because they get you to stand there in silence with the whole auditorium and the coaches for like about 3 or 4 minutes while I get all the cameras ready, but it feels like hours. And that just killed me. Like, they got into my head at that moment. I think they were trying to get into my head anyway, because it makes good TV when you're nervous. But yeah, right at the last minute they won. but it did totally change my life. And it is one of those moments where, you know, I watched it back with my mum again a few days ago, and it felt like something out of a movie. You know what I mean? It felt like that moment, you know, where and I know loads of people have probably gone through moments like that on talent competitions, but I think because it was the first time it happened on The Voice, it's the first time any of the judges had done anything like that, the whole thing just became a bit of a circus, and it became like I was almost part of a TV moment.
You mean them all turning around was the first
them
time?
all turning round and then all serenading me. And we were in there for about 45 minutes because it kind of turns into a Dragon's Den style pitch situation. If they all want you, then they then go in turn, you have conversations with them about what they'll do for you and how they can help and why you should pick them. And that whole like moment was really, really surreal. Normally it lasts, you know, everyone else before me, they were in and out. It felt quick.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is when I saw the edit, it was like, I didn't remember any of it happening at the time. Like, thank God they recorded it, because none of that was stuck in my memory. I think the whole thing was so overwhelming that it was like, it was almost like when you've just had too much to drink and you wake up and you can't remember anything the night before. You know?
It's the adrenaline, yeah.
Yeah, the adrenaline took over me. And
well, what I want to ask you as well is, you know, I think with your previous album and collection of music, you know, was certainly inspired from your experiences with your father that passed, and you know, now we've got your new album here, Abington Grove. Yeah. What was your creative process in making this album, and what do you feel were the main influences of, you know, putting this one together?
Well, this is the first album. I mean, it was before any of The Voice. It was before anything, really. This was me in the process of trying to make it in the right circuit.
So this is the one still with songs about your father on?
Yeah. This is the album. Yeah, I'm working on the second one at the moment. I'm kind of like
that's the confusion.
Yeah, I'm kind of 3/4 of the way through it, but this one still did really well. It went top 10 and I was really excited about it. And I didn't actually produce this one. This was before I could produce. And I made the whole thing. The reason it's called Abington Grove is because I made it in Abington Grove, in my dad's old house, in the cellar. And I mean, this is a mixture of, I wrote about 300 songs over the last 15 years. And these are, in my opinion, the best 12.
It's a lot to get through. Like,
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, a lot of them were rubbish as well. But I guess the weird thing is now when I listen to it, it just because it was a year ago, and now I'm onto this new album and all this whole new me, that just feels like a time capsule almost. It's like I can't even really listen to it anymore. But I think that's a good thing, because I think that means you're evolving and you always want to be building and not necessarily improving, but changing. That's the whole point of art, is that you change.
Yeah. And
I'm much more excited about the new stuff. But I always say that. I said that when I made that album about like all my EPs in the past. So I'm always on to the next thing, you know. But yeah, this is, you know, I'm still very fond of this. It looks beautiful. I'm proud of it, and the fans really like it. I think this is the thing. It was a great way of me just getting out of that EP world and going, right, I'm in albums now. Now I feel like a proper artist. Now I can have literally 2 years of that's that project. And then when it's done, move on. Whereas before I was always just scrambling around trying to work out what the next single was, or there was never any, like, I don't know, you want to create a world with each album.
Right.
And I felt like we did that with this, and now we're just getting with the second album. I'm just starting to think about what the next world is going to be. Yeah.
What are you currently drawing from? if you comfortable enough to share,
it's a lot more real, and I've produced it all myself.
Amazing.
Naturally, it has a kind of I don't want to say like a lower quality level, but kind of. But in a way, I like that about it because it sounds like me, a little bit rough around the edges, but all the bits are there. You know what I mean? That's me all over. So I've been able to really put my mark on it. And because I'm producing it myself, I can spend like sometimes months and months on a track, just tweaking a snare drum, being like, okay, literally on the train today, I was listening, I was like, oh, that snare could go up a little bit in the chorus of one of the demos. So then I'll go home and I'll turn it up, and then maybe in a month I might go, oh, I think I've turned it up too much.
Do you think all that like changes how you can enjoy music? Because
it's ruined it.
Yeah, because when I started playing around with music when I was younger, you're absolutely right. Your awareness is heightened for certain sounds, and you're focused on maybe that drum track or that bass track rather than the entirety of the thing.
Yeah, and then you end up getting lost in it, where you're working on a kick drum for 2 weeks. And then Mimi's coming down and going, "You really should like put the piano in soon." It's just like, yeah, but I just need to get the kick drum right. And there's just this little boom in it that's been bugging me since Thursday. But yeah, obviously you can fall into that trap, but I think I'm quite disciplined with myself, and I think I'm quite like good at saying when something's done, and leaving it alone. I think you can end up mixing and mixing and mixing forever, and it doesn't really, and then you'll play it to your mates, and they'll be like, "Sounds the same as it always did."
Yeah.
But it's about what you think, isn't it?
Something I want to ask you as well, because if people have been following your career for some time, they'll certainly remember the big fluffy head microphone, Billy Lockett, and now they've got the more sort of
washed,
modernized, washed look. And I've spoken to you at times where this was some years ago when you were having these sort of stylist features in magazines, and at certain times you didn't feel it was congruent with your branding, or congruent with how you felt about how you should be looking and stuff like that. Could you share with us some, the journey you've gone through with styling and the direction you've gone in terms of branding?
Well, this is literally just my girlfriend telling me how bad I looked and sorting it all out.
Right. There you go. You got a personal stylist at hand.
Yeah. There was literally, I don't want to say, I can't take any credit for anything about the way I look. But I guess I was getting to the point where I was a bit sick of always looking bad.
Right. There's only so many photos and videos you can start looking at. So hang on a minute, that's a bit.
Yeah, and like I was putting on weight. There was a point I was putting on a lot of weight, and I was just wearing just tracky bottoms and a hoodie everywhere all the time. And like I remember when I was doing Instagram stories, and I'd be like, why can't I ever get a good angle?
Oh, because all the angles are
bad. And then I was like, I suddenly had this realization of like, oh, it's me. It's my face that's the problem. You know what I mean? Because you never noticed that you're like, I'd never really know. I'd never put weight on before. So I never noticed. So I was like, God, the lighting's really bad recently. In every room.
Is everything externally?
And I suddenly realized I was like, I was out of breath when I was going up the stairs and stuff like that. And the only exercise I ever really did was the hoovering. You know what I mean? That was probably as far as it went, or running to the shop to get some baccy. So I kind of just thought, right, I'm going to sort myself out. And I went through a breakup as well that had been a long time coming. And that, I guess I didn't realize it, but that was probably contributing to why I didn't seem to care about myself. And it wasn't that, I'm not saying that she made me feel like that, but for some reason, when I was with her, I didn't care about myself. Totally not her fault, but it just seemed, and I didn't even notice I didn't. I think it was just, I kept looking around at my life and being like, well, why am I wasted in a bar at 4 a.m, and why am I constantly eating McDonald's, and why am I not going to the gym and not working, and any of these things. It was like, God, and and she wasn't the best version of herself either. And I think when we broke up, I can't speak for her, but I definitely went into a sort of a survival mode where I was kind of like, okay, right, I need to really sort myself out now, because otherwise I'm going to spiral way, way deeper. So I just, got onto a sort of a gym that was quite expensive, but I needed something to work. So I was willing, I couldn't really afford it, but I did it anyway. And that really helped, because it gave me a sort of community. It's a gym called ETC in Northampton. Very community based. Everyone in there is kind of in there because they don't really like the gym. And this is a way of them getting there. And that got me in shape, and the endorphins flowing, and it got me off drinking drugs. Well, I mean, I'm now a normal person. Do you know what I mean? I have a couple of beers occasionally, and this, do you know what I mean? I don't have to be out all night forever. And so that helped, and just did a lot of working out who I know that's that cliche thing, but I was with Kirsten for 10 years. So you don't really, and so that's from 20 to 30. So I only really knew how to be with her. You know what I mean? I didn't really know who I was without her. Because you're a different person with everyone, aren't you? I guess you're influenced by everyone, and you become a version of yourself. And yeah, I was totally lost.
I think there's a lot to be said about being conscious of who your idols are, because you then start to slip into that archetype, right? So if you are a musician, you're in rock and roll, you make decisions on certain actions based on what that idol would do.
Yeah, and almost who you think you should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, I'm that archetype, I'm that stereotype. Yeah, that's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Let's live that life.
Yeah, it definitely didn't make it easier to quit.
Yeah.
Because there is that thing of, I don't know, I don't know whether I blamed it on the music, but I just love, with the whole party side of things, I just love people. I love talking to people, and I love experiencing things and going out. And I think I grew up only child, brothers and sisters, not in like a sob story way, but it just meant didn't really hang out with that many people. At school, it was kind of the same, really. I kind of kept myself to myself. I mean, I was so much of a loser at school that I remember going over to the loser table. And
that was the loser table.
There was a table of like all the other losers, right? And I assumed I was part of it. Do you know what I mean? And I went over, and even they were like,
"No, you got to sit with us."
No. And I was like, fair enough. So maybe, and then I thought, well, maybe that doesn't make me a loser. Maybe that just makes me my own thing entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever it was lonely and boring. And lunchtimes were I used to dread them, because I just had nothing to do. Not in like a sad, poor me way, but just like, it's just rubbish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look forward to seeing your mates. So now that when I hit like, 18, 19, I started getting in bands and becoming kind of popular, and we got some Radio 1 players, and I started to have mates. Ever since, I think I've always just loved the idea of just being surrounded by people all the time. The problem with that is it comes with a lot of partying a lot of the time. A lot of things you shouldn't really be doing. But I was I wasn't so much addicted to drinking drugs, more addicted to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a common story. I mean, you get sucked into nightlife, and it can be a dark alley.
Yeah. But it can also be really fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But to your point about your breakup, I think it's always a disruptive time, but arguably can be like the best thing for you.
Totally.
I mean,
yeah.
A change can only really happen through a significant event to disrupt the pattern. And that's why we often go in the direction of, the physical change, the image,
maybe
the
it's a byproduct, isn't it? It's a byproduct of everything, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I definitely think that going for a breakup and then the voice happening is two enormous things to happen, and it's had a domino effect on my whole life. And overall, I've never been so happy. now. Everything's quite overwhelming. You know, I've got everything I've ever wanted. My career's booming. Found someone new who I am. I love the version of myself with her, and she's great for me.
And tell us a bit about that. So how did you meet your new girlfriend?
Mimi. She's, I mean, it's not been that long. It's 3 months, I think.
Yeah.
But it feels fun and light and nice and she's just she cares about like how I am genuinely as a person. Had never even heard of my music when we met as well, which is always a bonus. Do you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Yeah, which was great because there was no chance of her being a fan because she was like, I've never heard of you.
Yeah.
So great. And yeah, she's just the best, man. She makes me feel really secure and she's just a really good person, got great morals. She's beautiful. She's really into the music.
Friend situation, or was
well, I actually saw her in a pub at a gig, and I was trying to kind of find a way of talking to her, and there was just never a chance that I could have. I tried to say hi about 3 or 4 different times, but someone always got in the way and went, "Oh, you're right, Billy," and I'm like, "You're right," and then she'd go inside, and I'd be like, "Damn it!" So I had to do it the old-fashioned way of sliding in the DMs afterwards.
All right, guys, I just want to take 2 seconds here to talk about what I actually do, right? And the whole reason for this channel. I've been a dating expert for over 16 years now. I've been helping people with their social life, their dating life. I can literally help you get a girlfriend or improve your lifestyle all within 30 days. So if that's something that interests you, head on over to my website, johnnycassell.com. You can join my community. You can apply to be on one of my workshops here in London. And finally, get this area of your life sorted. Check it out.
But yeah,
you could still look at that as old school, but it's new school, really.
It is,
new school.
Yeah. It's we're just sort of in the honeymoon period at the moment, and it feels like a whirlwind. But you know, we're both really happy, and she's she feels like a rock behind me. I feel, and ever since I met her, everything in my life has improved hugely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, good, and it's good to hear she's supportive of your music as well, and to that point, like where's your favorite place you've played? I mean, you've played at some like incredible venues now, you know, and some we've seen you repeat. I mean, your Shepherd's Bush Empire is one you've played here. The Chapel Union Chapel, sorry.
Union Chapel's coming up actually,
But hey, even the people that you've supported, I mean, it blew my mind where I saw those photos coming out of the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Like, what a venue.
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know, what the hell.
But yeah, so for you, which been your like?
I don't know, it feels like every day there's something else that just happens at the moment. We're doing O2 Arena with McFly next week.
Okay, and that's not going to be your first time you played there.
No,
you were supporting
fifth time.
ELO.
Yeah, I did ELO. I did it with ELO four nights in a row.
Yeah, I was
yeah. And we're doing a European tour that starts in Paris on Sunday. And then we're touring pretty much all through October, then Jamie Cullum November. Then December we've got the Christmas shows, and then the UK headline tour in February. It's crazy. But I guess Albert Hall, I guess, is the one you're supposed to say. Because it is an iconic venue, and it did feel amazing. You know, I got a standing ovation at the end, and I thought to myself, God, like, I remember I still like play that moment in my head sometimes. I just think that is literally every singer's dream, to just have that last 5-10 seconds of what just happened. But really, my favourite shows are always in Northampton.
Yeah. And I tell you what, and I think that's why your audience really connects with you, because after all these experiences you're having, you're not letting it go to your head. You know where your roots are, and you're always. It's not even an ego thing, though. It genuinely is like like playing the Picturedome in Northampton to like 300 of my mates. It's just like way better than the Royal Albert Hall. Oh God. Yeah,
it's better than the One Albert Hall. It's better than O2 Arena. It's better than any of them. Like, I mean, there's just something about...
There's more soul in it.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, Northampton's just always been this town that just everybody is always... Can we swear on here?
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's always shat on. Fuck. So
there we go. Fuck, yeah.
Yeah, it's just always been a town that people have always, if they've done well, they've left. And anyone who's ever done well from Northampton has never talked about being from there. They've kind of like hidden it away as this sort of like dirty secret. Whereas I'm kind of like, why?
Put it on the map.
Yeah,
waving the flag.
It's another one of those things of like, if no one's done it, then that's a good reason to start shouting about it. And I genuinely do love the town. All my friends are there, like the whole community of it. It's a music town as well, you know. Northampton used to be known for shoes, and I think we've held on to that for too long. But it isn't. It's a rugby town. We just won the Premiership. Our rugby team is the best in the country. And everywhere you go, someone is a musician or a videographer, or they're doing a podcast, or they're an artist, or they're a stylist, or
there's a real creative movement.
God, and everyone works with everyone, and everyone's... I mean, what I see is everyone's trying to help everyone. It's so to be a singer in a music town is a dream.
Yeah,
you know, and why not celebrate it? And most of my shows are in Northampton still. We're just doing bigger and bigger venues. And
well, Mum's been up there a few times. Mum's a big fan. Yeah.
The great thing as well, people come to Northampton now and they're like, oh, it's only 50 minutes on a train from London, all these different things.
So you should be taking a cut from the tourism board. They should have you on payroll, huh?
I'm going to be mayor in, I reckon, 4 years. I'm going to run for mayor.
What I want to say as well is that, you know, I've seen you change tact with how you communicated with your fans and your audience. In which I remember speaking to you about this, like you weren't really too sure how to use social media and use these platforms as a tool. But if we look at you today, you're using them tremendously well. You always seem to be posting the right things that bring you closer to your audience. What was the mindset shift in terms of you to just go all in on that?
I guess it's about working out who you are online. What's your online personality? And really, I think for an online personality to work, it needs to be as close as your real personality.
It'd be exhausting, right? Trying to keep up this image and it's not really you.
Exactly. And then you kind of work out how to... The online personality should be kind of like you, but with frilly bits. Do you know what I mean? Like you, but with sparkles on, really. And so at first I was trying the whole cool thing where it's, you know, really dark and mysterious and people just didn't really know me and didn't really get it. And then so I went almost too far the other way and just became like complete goofball, trying to make everyone laugh all the time and heavily getting my pets involved, which was, don't get me wrong, pets are great, but they don't have to be the main part, you know. And then it's just about finding a balance, and eventually you come to the middle of it and working out who my fans are, and really. I guess if you're yourself, you're going to attract people that like who you are, and then your whole brand sort of builds itself. Obviously, the music as well has to kind of follow suit with what you are as well. And for me, my lyrics aren't the most complicated. They're very honest and open. You know, I'm not kind of using loads of metaphors all the time.
Yeah,
I'm kind of saying it how it is. So I think you have to do that online as well. I've just sort of worked out things that work as well, and kind of just refine them every time I do something. You know, if there's a radio play, it's about you know, filming myself listening for the first time. You know?
Celebrating the success, like they're joining you celebrating the moment.
Yeah, exactly. But almost doing it in real time. I used to kind of gather up loads of things and then make a load of content around it. You know, have like a dedicated day of doing content for all these things that happened. And it's like, well, why don't you just catch it in the moment, and then you won't feel like it's work. Like if you're going to be on the radio, film it and then post that, and that's it. That is the reaction.
Yeah.
And then there's no bullshit and there's no kind of pretending. Because I think as well, a lot of people, if you're even vaguely not being yourself or you're not being authentic, it just screams amateur, and people can. They don't know it, but they can smell it. You know, if you're seeing someone talking on camera and they're not really being the true self, it can be deafening how those subtle moments can actually be the difference between a video getting what you want and not, you know?
Yeah.
So it's about just learning to just chill out and what have I got to say? I've got to say this. How am I going to do it? Is it going to be in the form of a video? Am I going to talk to the camera? Is it going to be a photo? Whatever it's going to be, make it you. You know, the less you think about it, the better almost.
I think what you did which was great during lockdown, you know, when you went round to like the
house gigs.
The house gigs. But that was such a great, I mean, like you played to like someone's sister, their brother and their nan.
Yeah,
you know,
in a kitchen.
In a kitchen.
Yeah, in Barnsley. Yeah.
There's like 5 people in the room. You know, these guys used to like selling out bloody concert halls. But
at times I didn't know whether that was a great idea, to be honest.
I think it was strong.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's paying you dividends because it was showing you it wasn't just about, you know, making a bit of money. You know, it was like I give a shit, you know, about my fans.
Yeah, totally.
I think it brought you closer to your audience. I think it was a strong move.
I mean, it was definitely an experience, and it was a way of getting out and doing something when everyone else was kind of had to sit inside. I was thinking, well, if I just drive to people's gardens, that's kind of a loophole around this whole COVID thing. And sometimes there were hundreds of people in these gardens. This is the weird thing. Some of them there was like 3, and it would just be whoever was the fan had forced the rest of their family to go in the garden and watch this weird guy do whatever he's going to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I was just thinking, is this my life now? Do you know what I mean?
Is this where I'm at?
Is this where I'm at? I was doing a James Corden show 2 years ago, and now I'm in someone's garden. But you know, it's all part of the story, and I'd much rather play to 3 people in a garden than sit at home waiting to be told when I can gig again. Yeah, and it worked. I guess nowadays I don't have as many crazy ideas, and I also have good enough managers to say to me, no,
that's not a good idea.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe someone probably should have said that to me with the garden tour, but it was an experience.
No, I think it was great.
Yeah, great.
But to that point, what do you think is like? Because I'm very, you know, I've got a lot of close friends in the sort of the music circuit, like DJing and all that kind of stuff, and I start to see the importance of what a manager is to these people, because I've also seen people without it. So I mean, for you, like, what does make a good manager? And like, some people don't really understand the role of such a person.
I guess it depends on where you're at in your career or journey or whatever it is. I'm on my 4th management now. But each one got me my next one. And I would definitely not have got anywhere near as good a management as I have now if I hadn't gone through the last 3. I think people have this idea that you need to just find the right one when you're 17 and then that'll be it. Just doesn't work like that a lot of the time. Sometimes it does, and there is, don't get me wrong, I loved the idea of that loyalty, like the story you hear with Ed Sheeran, found his manager and still with him, you know, Joe Rogan's still with his manager from when he was a kid. I wanted that, don't get me wrong, just like you want that with a relationship, you know, but sometimes it just doesn't work, and you'd be better if you went with someone else. So I think if any artists are kind of watching and thinking, oh God, I'm terrified to leave my manager because I'm going to have nothing afterwards. If your gut feeling is saying you haven't progressed in the last year or so with the guy you're with, then move on. It's business at the end of the day. And you're depriving yourself of a good one, you know. But for me, my first manager was essentially just a mate. You know what I mean? He was a mate that was good at Photoshop, and and had a different email address. Didn't know anyone, didn't really know what the hell was going on, but just hassled people and surprisingly did all right. Got me on Radio 1, got me a booking agent, you know. Couldn't believe it, really. Thinking back, actually, to how little he knew.
It's just a chancer.
He managed it, and he fooled me as well. And then, obviously, it got to the point where he just wasn't making any money. Because this is another problem with managers in the early days. They're not going to make any money. And if you're going to find a decent manager, they need to love you so much that they need to be okay with, and obviously if they're any good at being a manager, they're going to be aware of the fact that they're not going to make money for the next at least 2 or 3 years.
So they've just got to love the game.
They've just got to love you and love the idea of what if, you know, because everyone wants it to be an Ed Sheeran situation where you're all millionaires in 10 years' time, or even 5 years' time. But yeah, so Ricky just moved on to a job that made him money. Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then I got a new manager who was willing to not make any money for the next 3 years, called Helena, and she was a solo manager. She was brilliant. She knew a few more people. She worked in Radio 1 as a producer for a little bit, so she had some connections with radio. We'd already got the booking agent from the last manager, so she sacked him instantly, got a better one, got me a lawyer, you know, things, got me a few extra things, and in the end, after we did Made in Chelsea, we got a record deal. So she actually got me my first major record deal with Warner, and that went really well. But I guess for her, she burnt out, and it was like too much. The whole label thing wasn't working, and you know, they were screaming at her. They would literally scream at her on the phone. The label would, and it was nuts. It was damaging her mental health big time.
Wow. And what was the stress over? Like what?
Stress over what, you know, why is the album not coming out? Why are none of the singles working? You know, we wanted to do this arena tour with ELO, and the label said no to it, which was mental because it was like a European arena tour. It was 30,000 people every night, and the label was saying, I mean, I can talk about this now because it's been such a long time, but I was sort of embargoed from talking about it for a while, but now I can. But they were saying it was kind of not the right audience. And I was kind of like, yeah, but because the Electric Light Orchestra is an older band.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, but they're people. It's people. I just couldn't understand. How can you turn down that many people because they're not the right people? So I ended up doing it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But that whole stress of it all just was too much for Helena to handle. And I understand, you know, it was crazy. And I was spiraling into drink and drugs through the whole process as well. So I wasn't the easiest artist to manage. And it all just went wrong, you know, and then got a new whole management, which were really good under the circumstances. COVID hit, and I was with them for. They'd done a few more people than Helena, and it was a team as well. It was like 3 or 4 people, so you could distribute the jobs out, and that made the life a lot easier than looking at Helena kind of like drowning. But I think they were heavily into the money side of things, and so I ended up spending quite a lot of money on them, and but then again, it was COVID, and it was a really hard time. We couldn't go out, we couldn't tour. It was so they managed to keep my head afloat, and in the end, then they got me another record deal. They signed me to Virgin, which, oh God, this is such a crazy story, but. Yeah, they signed me to Virgin, and then that all went. And then I went to America and signed a deal with. They got me a deal in America with a label, an indie label, and we got the album out, and it worked, but it just didn't stream anywhere near enough for the label to keep me on. You know, you'd have to stream hundreds of millions of times to pay off all the debts that the label's in from you, and obviously that didn't happen. So. Then they dropped me, and I was like, "Here we go again." And then I left that management, and just by some fluke, a friend, one of my friends, Jay, who's a producer, happened to know Jamie Cullum's management, and Jamie Cullum is a guy that just is one of my heroes, really. One of the reasons I started playing piano, and yeah, I just instantly just thought, this is perfect. If I can get this management, this is a proper management. They've been going for ages. They built Jamie. Jamie's been with the same management since the beginning. So it's like, well, there's a sign, you know, that's real loyalty. And time speaks for itself in when it comes to an artist and a manager relationship. And because of my numbers and because of everything I'd done, they took me on. So I guess it is kind of a situation of, they wouldn't have even looked at me if I was at the stage with Ricky or Helen or, you know, each manager just gets you to
the next level.
The next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope that this management can take me to, I mean, I'm pretty sure they can, because they've done it with Jamie and they know what it's like to manage a top, you know, a superstar, really. So hopefully they're the last management I get.
And so is it gonna be any sort of another crack at doing anything with America again? I mean, like, and so is it not working out of the indie label? And I remember you had that track with that rapper, was it?
Yeah, Goldlink. Yeah. I don't know, America is one of those things, it's just so expensive to do. And I think the problem with signing a deal in America was, you know, we didn't have the budget to actually make a noise out there. But I guess America, yeah, I'd love to. And I think I would work really well over there. But it's the kind of thing at the moment, it's working here. I mean, England is suddenly just taken to this, and we're at a point right now where it's never felt so buzzy. We've never sold so many tickets so quickly, and the streams everything is just going up now. And I'm so used to watching everything going down. It's an overwhelming moment. So you just go where it works. If we get a break in America, then amazing. But I'm just kind of like, there's no rush. And I'm going to do this till I die. So hopefully I've got ages to make it work.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to do anything else. And the other thing that's nice about this is you can never go backwards, really. Like every day, I always get even a couple more followers on something. Even if it's 2 or 3, it's always going up. Mm-hmm. So that's really all that matters, that you just keep doing that.
And are we going to see you do any more sort of cross-genre stuff? Like, you know, if people listen to music, I know there's often said like, oh, when is he going to write a positive, uplifting song?
Yeah.
You know, and but you know, it's an output, isn't it, for things that are going on in your life, things you're experiencing. Yeah. I mean,
I guess I've never been happy.
Never. I mean, it was a work in progress, right? You did an interesting venture with drum and bass artist. Goddard. Yeah. In which that must have been pretty cool, because I know you went to actually perform at these Rave warehouse concepts, which is it's not the Royal Albert Hall, is it?
That was the weirdest thing. We did the Royal Albert Hall, and then we literally got in a car and went to Manchester Warehouse Project and played drum and bass.
It was the day after.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's incredible.
And sang, I think it was like, yeah, because we did 3 shows at Royal Albert Hall, and it was after one of them. I think it was after the 3rd show. And I was on at 4 in the morning as well, on stage at 4 in the morning.
God.
So I had to drive from London to Manchester about 11, 12 straight after, and get there, dosed up on coffee, like a bucket of coffee from McDonald's. You know, that really messed me up, actually, to be fair. I got the jitters for days from that. And then go and sing one song to 5,000 pilled up kids. You know what I mean?
The jaws go.
It's so funny. There was this guy that was just literally standing in the crowd, beginning to end of the song, like topless, like just drenched in sweat, with his phone up like this, just going like this, Gurning. And it just said, "Sing Prodigy" on his phone. He just kept holding it up at me like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Yeah, it's not open mic night, mate.
Yeah, no. But that was my first ever rave as well. I'd never been to a rave before.
Had you not?
No, I just never really did it. I never did the rave thing.
Oh,
No, I was always a pub guy. I mean, I never really liked clubs or anything like that, really. I was never like a
rave guy, man.
really, yeah.
I love music, man.
No, I had more of a sit in a pub and have a good conversation with someone till like 1 a.m. thing with a open fire and a load of Guinness.
Yeah,
That's what I think. I've never really been much of a dancer. Like the idea of dancing, everyone keeps trying to get me to do strictly, Northampton does this Strictly Come Dancing thing every Christmas. It's quite a big deal, to be fair. The whole town gets involved and then they keep asking me to do it. And just the idea of any form of dancing, right, it literally makes me physically want to just throw up. Like, I just get so embarrassed. I feel so awkward that I'm just like, oh, I just want to retch from the thought of dancing.
A hop, skip, and a jump away from being the mayor. I mean, didn't you like have the lights turned on like the other year or something? Like what?
Turn the Christmas
They're
lights
running
on.
out of things for you to do. Of course they're going to give you that. Yeah, like
they are running out of certain things. It's like, oh, should we wheel him out again? I am doing some stuff with the Saints, with the rugby club as well. And after I've done that, I think I literally will have done everything in Northampton, apart from maybe something with the Cobblers, with the football team.
I think you got to have your own shoe brand.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Very good.
I really like that.
Yeah.
To go with the Sockets.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. Why not get the shoes with the socks? The Billy Lockett.
That's so good.
Yeah. I know, that's been my best seller, actually.
Well, there you go. There's an entrepreneurial venture.
I know, seriously, socks, man.
Sockets.
Seriously, it's half my income is
really?
socks. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just a gag. You've actually got them.
No, yeah, I pretend that I'm a singer, but actually I'm a sock salesman.
Oh, God.
And I'm just using my music to sell my socks. But seriously, man, like I've sold out every run of socks I've ever done. I've done 5,000-6,000.
What's the
pairs
patterns
of
on?
socks.
What they got on them? Like?
What haven't they got on them? I mean, they are ugly as hell. They're basically my album cover all over the socks. So you know that collage on the album? It's just all the socks are just printed with all sorts of madness. But I've got a new sock range, which is a lot more stylish, and it's just white with the Billy Lockett logo at the top. A lot more classy, but simple. And because I kind of was like, I should probably make some socks that people actually want to wear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the moment, the socks that I've got, I mean, everyone loves them, but I know they're not wearing them to anything but my gigs.
Yeah. Well, maybe because some underpants or something, you know, when the guys are bringing out the sexy time, they got
the boxes would be
Billy Lockett face
yeah.
print all over them. Oh God!
Pictures of my cat. Yeah, yeah, man. It's a big seller.
What advice do you have for people that are kind of just starting out with a music career? I mean, you've mentioned a few great things. You know, like you accept that if you land a great manager and you know have ability to attain a phenomenal relationship, fantastic. But don't worry about going through a few. We talked about connecting better with your audience, talked about being more in tune with your image and your branding. We talked a little about finding influence and the creative process. And the confidence as well. You just said, like, don't worry about repeating like it will feel like.
Yeah, don't worry about getting things wrong. It's a tricky one because you don't want to worry about getting things wrong, but you also don't want to chill out too much. Like, you do want to be a bit like, all right, you do need to get on with this, and you do need to keep getting better and improving. But don't panic. You know, if it doesn't work instantly.
Yeah, accept
that you don't get things. You know, the amount of times you go for stuff, you won't get a playlist. You won't get Spotify playlists sometimes, and accept that. You know, you're not going to get radio play until there's a reason. You're not. You know, you've got to understand that the business works in a way that people won't care until they do. And then when they do, it's your job to try and make them care for as long as possible. How much can you milk it? Like with this voice thing, we're literally, my managers are getting in touch with every brand we can think of that would make sense with what we do.
Amazing.
And going, okay, well, how can we work together? How can we partner up? So you still, when you get something like The Voice, whenever there's a spark that happens, it's still up to you to to turn it into a fire. Really, there's so many things that you need
You got
to
to run with it.
You've really got to, and
Yeah.
you've got to be creative with it. You know, it will die out. And I think the reason I've had so many breaks is maybe because and they haven't led to anything, is because I have, sadly, me and my managers haven't been able to start a fire with it. And it will always fizzle out if you can't. But the most important thing, I think that where I like to believe, I like to at least pretend that where you are in your career is kind of like a symbol of how good you are at what you do. And so really my focus is on making the songs stand out, you know, making them amazing, making them the best I can possibly make them. And nothing will happen unless, I think we're in a world now with TikTok and Spotify, everyone can choose what they listen to. It doesn't matter who you are, really. If a song clicks and it's really, and it's special, it will spread because people will share it. And if they don't want to share it, it isn't good enough. It really isn't. And that's the bottom line. If it's not going viral, I mean, going viral is really about something being so good that everyone wants to keep telling each other it. And yeah, you've got algorithms and you've got all these other things that are kind of gatekeepers, but essentially, really, we're in a world where if enough people really love something, it will work and it will spread. And if it doesn't, you're just not good enough yet. And you just got to go back to the drawing board and write something better.
Yeah.
And when you can work out that it's okay to not be good enough, and it won't cripple you and cripple your ego when you realize that you're not good enough, then you can use it to improve, and it can actually become your superpower. But don't go so far that everything that you make you think is crap. You still need to have some belief that you love what you do and that you're proud of what you are, but never get complacent because you'll just stop improving. You know, I don't think I'm anywhere near as good as I want to be yet. But I'm so proud of where I've got to.
Yeah, as you should be, to see what you've done in just the time I've known you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
We're drawing to a close now, man. But I mean, something that I've been trying to do on this new series of interviews and meetings is to actually do a bit of a giveaway. So, have you got anything where we could give away to the listeners?
No.
Bugger all. Bugger all.
Yeah, I can give away. Also, what do you want?
I don't know. I mean, let's say like
socks. I haven't got any socks. Sold out.
Damn, I think that's what everyone watching was like. If they're going to do the giveaway today, I want those socks.
We could give away a signed CD, a signed vinyl.
Yeah.
We could give away some tickets to the Union Chapel gig. I've got a London show.
So we got some tickets to give away.
Yeah, Union Chapel in London. Signed CD, signed vinyl. Bit of my hair.
Yeah.
Toenail.
No, we ended it there. I think those three of it. Okay, cool.
A giant toenail, but
I think this is how we do it. We got 3 things to give away.
Yeah.
We'll pull the names out of a hat. All you have to do is comment something under this video. You'll go into the draw.
That's good, actually. If we pull the names out of the hat right, one of you wins a vinyl, one of you wins a CD, but one of you wins a toenail. That would make it really. I'd watch that. That makes it. Everyone's like, please, God, not the toenail. Don't know why I'm running down this.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of the Johnny Cassell Show with Billy Lockett. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment underneath. Make sure you subscribe, you like, share. But more importantly, if you want to win a clipping of Billy Lockett's toenail, get engaged. God bless. I'll see you on the next one.